Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning.
Forgot that. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Today is Thursday, September 28th, 2023, and we are here in the Java Cafe. First of all, let me give a disclaimer. As many of you know, we are in an election season. I believe across Massachusetts, maybe except for Brockton, their municipal is a little bit different. Their mayoral is every 2 years. I think most of the municipalities are every 4 years. We in Boston are in a mid-municipal election, meaning that we are electing city council. In Springfield, they are electing their mayor and also, I believe, city councilors. I'm not sure. We'll get clarity in a second. However, the disclaimer is because if you have been paying attention, I have not had any candidates on as of yet. And I've explained a couple of times that campaigns and whatnot spend money on paper, ads and media ads and whatnot. And we are a community-driven media outlet, but we got bills too. And so we were trying to figure out a reasonable rate to offer the candidates that is balanced, those that have 5,000 in the bank and those that have over 600,000 in the bank. And so that Boston Poly is coming. However, today I talked with the team because I'll be honest, when I saw that we had a mayoral candidate, I was like, uh-oh. And I'm not going to say which ones, but when his post went up, I got a couple of texts like, yo, Jimmy, are you going to delve into Boston Poly? And we are. But without further ado, I would like to introduce a brother that I actually got a text about this morning from someone that I respect. I'm not going to put them out there, but she texted me this morning and basically said, "Morning, James, seeing this warms my heart so much. I recently connected with Justin's wife, and she seems like such a beautiful person. I own a home in Springfield, and I want to help support his campaign. Thank you for all that you do." And what that part isn't important. And so I got a text when folks found out that he was coming on this morning. So I'm going to ask you if you know anyone in the Springfield area to tag them. Hit the share button as we get ready to chat with Mr. Justin Hurst, who is running for mayor, currently a city councilor at large in the city of Springfield, if I am correct. Welcome to the Java Cafe, sir. Welcome this morning.
How we doing? How's everybody? Thank you so much for having me. Absolute pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, sir. So the first thing I need to ask you is where are you originally from? Because you got a little Brooklyn, New York sort of twang or something. I'm just saying.
So I'm born and raised in Springfield.
Really?
So, I went to school first down in Jacksonville in Florida,
okay,
and then graduated from the University of Virginia. So,
that's where that's coming from.
Southern twang there.
Okay.
Mixed with everything that they give us here in the city of Springfield. Something in the water.
Okay, so let's just clarify with that question that as a candidate, folks will ask. So born and raised in Springfield. So let's back up a little bit. You greeted the folks. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point of being a Black man that is in electoral politics. I don't know about Springfield, but Boston is very interesting. So we'll get into that in a few minutes. But tell us your journey. Tell us your story.
No doubt. I was born and raised here in the city of Springfield, went to public schools my entire life. I watched my parents who gave back to the community that, that they loved. And so that's honestly what I saw day in and day out. So I knew when I went off to school at the University of Virginia that I was going to come back to the city of Springfield and do exactly what I had seen them do. And they spent the bulk of their life, and actually they're still doing it, in terms of trying to bring information to our most marginalized communities here in the city of Springfield. So my mother was on the school committee. She also was a former educator in the city of Springfield. My father was an activist here in the city, also was on the commissioner of the Mass Commission Against Discrimination for a number of years. And then currently, my wife is on the school committee, and she was on the school committee before I even thought about running. So I got to give her a little credit in terms of why it is.
A little, you better fix that real quick.
Listen, I know she's watching, and so she's always my biggest critique, but also, someone that I look up to. She got into the political foray before me, and it was always I wanted to impact more people than just in my classroom. When I came back to the city of Springfield, I went to Western New England University School of Law. Received my law degree, and then I also was teaching high school English at the High School of Science and Technology, a local high school here in the city of Springfield, for a number of years. And I wanted to impact more than just those 90 students that I would see every day in my classroom. So 2011, ran for city council. Unfortunately, I was unsuccessful in 2011, but like many other instances in my life, I was able to get back up, run again in 2013, and haven't looked back since. Been on the city council for the last 10 years and served as president in 2019 and 2020.
So quick question. How old are you, brother?
That's a good question. I oftentimes try to forget purposefully. 44. 44. So I it sounds like you're giving me a compliment.
So I'm saying, just to hear your accomplishments and whatnot, the plight of us folks that look like us. And it should be, and it is really a norm. It is. We are a norm. Black men that have been through things that become successful. It's just, unfortunately, with media and different things, those that may have a different journey are often promoted in the media for a certain narrative. And so I appreciate you changing the narrative in reference to what we can do as Black men. And so let's jump into sort of the poly conversation. I don't know if folks let you know if you did any research, but I shoot them off real quick. So why are you running for mayor? What makes you different from the incumbent? What makes you different from any other candidate?
So first of all, we got to break down these systems that are in place that continue to allow a certain group of individuals to benefit on a regular basis while leaving so many out. Here in the city of Springfield, there are a number of issues that are running rampant, probably no different than in Boston, but there are some critical things that we need to do here in Springfield in order for this city to flourish. So why am I running? Our education system is struggling at the moment, and we know that we can do better. And coming from the education field, I know that we need someone in leadership who is invested in our young people. In addition, we've got a residency requirement here in the city of Springfield that is only followed for the individuals that those in power want it to be followed for. And so we know that there are a number of individuals who are living outside of the city. In addition to that, there are a number of big time department heads who are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars that are simply getting a paycheck and taking their money outside of the city. Housing department lives outside of the city. Our building department lives outside of the city. HR lives outside of the city. So you're trying to enforce residency and you don't even live in the city of Springfield. So for me, that's problematic. Gun violence. I mean, I know you all have been dealing with it in Boston. We are at homicide number 27 here in the city of Springfield, and we still have an administration who doesn't have a comprehensive plan to address gun violence, as though, folks haven't been here before. This is not something new, but something that certainly needs to be addressed and needs to be addressed involving the community. We here in the city of Springfield need to invest in our young people. We've been talking about a state-of-the-art sports complex. I know when I, travel out to Boston, you all have plenty of those, right? But we don't have anything here in the city of Springfield. We're the third largest city where our young people can, actually do something other than be on the streets and do all the things that we don't want them to do. In addition to that, you all faced it in Boston. Our municipal contracts go outside of the city. And so, if you have a connection with the mayor, you're going to receive those contracts. If you don't have a connection with the mayor, then you're not going to receive them. And that leaves a lot of small businesses here in the city that could grow to medium-sized businesses or large-sized businesses struggling to even survive. And, it's even more critical in the wake of COVID. So those are just a few reasons. I mean, I'm sure we'll delve into a number of others. Housing, certainly is big here in the city of Springfield. I think about Boston, and you all now are big in favor of east to west rail. I wonder where you were at a few years back, but now that your housing
You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. Don't do it. No. Seriously, go ahead, please. Keep going.
No, I mean, I feel like folks in Boston got on board when, you realized that you needed an alternative to housing, and the housing prices in the Boston area that are so high. So now it's like, all right, well, you know what? Where can we live? Now we finally recognize that the western part of the state is an option. And we're sitting here looking at taxes going up 9 out of the last 9 straight years. Well, let that Easter rail come in. And I can assure you that the residents here in Springfield are going to see their taxes go up even higher. Not that I'm against it. I'm just dealing with some of the realities that we got to be conscientious of. So anyhow, there are a number of issues, a number of reasons, and we got an administration that is not paying attention to the residents, the bulk of the residents here in Springfield. Affordable transportation, another one. You all did some good things with your COVID relief money in terms of at least running a pilot program. We can't even get it off the ground because we have no interest in investing in the individuals who, we assume aren't going to come out to vote. So we got to do better.
Absolutely. I heard a lot of, with candidates and in politics. I work for the city's longest serving Mayor Tom Menino, for many, many years, and got my poly chops there, or they were improved there. And one of the things that we talked about is focus on yourself and good, and not focus on the negative of the other administration. However, you did cite that part of your difference and why you're running for mayor is you will have a different approach and perspective. A couple of things I want to ask you. Politics have become very, very interesting in this country. Politics have become interesting along the lines of race, along the lines of generation, along the lines of sexual preference, a woman's right to their body. How are you going to ensure that you keep and run a clean campaign? Cite the issues and things that you observe, but how are you going to ensure you keep this campaign straight until I believe it's November 6th?
November 7th.
November 7th. Let's delve into that a little bit. We're going to go all over the place, but I wanted to ask that.
No, listen, I've always been focused on the issues, from the time in which, I came on the city of Springfield, and my father said, you know what, son, I need you to make some noise. I don't care whether it's good noise or bad noise, but I need you to lead in making some noise. And really what he was saying was that we need someone who's going to be on the council, who's going to have the courage to speak truth to power and advocate on behalf of individuals who are voiceless. And so, from the beginning of my tenure, that's all I've done, but I've done it in a way that has been issue focused. For me, it's never personal. If it's having an impact on the residents of Springfield, I want to bring those issues to light. And politics here in Springfield is not easy. Breaking through is not easy. I mean, the fact that, we now have a majority minority council, majority minority school committee, certainly ward representation played into that. But, for a long time, folks that look like you and I have been shut out of the process. Yep. And so the fact that, we're here now and, folks are running for offices that didn't have individuals in them that look like me, now we want to start saying that, folks are getting personal with the issues. Well, to a certain degree, they are personal, right? And I know the impact of these issues on residents. I have regular conversations with the individuals who I know these policies are having a detrimental impact too. So it is personal, but in terms of platform, I've always focused on the issues, and the issues that we talk about when we talk about, ensuring everybody has a first-class education. That's not a Black issue. That's not a white issue. That's a Springfield issue. When we talk about police reform, that's not a Black issue. That's not a white issue. That's not a brown issue. That's an issue that all residents in the city of Springfield must deal with. When you have $16 million that's going out to police brutality settlements over the course of the last 10 years, that's impacting the pockets of everybody. When we talk about we want to make sure that money is being directed to small businesses, that's not saying I want money directed to Black businesses or Latino businesses. That's saying I want money directed to small businesses. Now, don't get me wrong, the overwhelming majority of individuals who live in Springfield are people of color. But my issues are going to help everyone. And anytime folks want to put me in a box, I'm quick to say, just look at what I've been fighting for and know that what it is that I've been fighting for as a counselor is no different than what I'm gonna fight for as a mayor. And those issues impact everybody. When we talk about reducing taxes, we're talking about all homeowners. We're not just talking about homeowners of color. When we talk about eliminating the trash fee, we're talking about all homeowners. Affordable transportation. The PBTA is not saying, only folks of color get the benefit of affordable transportation. So, when folks want to put you in the box, I'm quick to let them know that, you create your own box. We're trying to go outside of the limits here in the city of Springfield. And I know that's what folks are used to. I know that's what the media is used to, but you're not going to put me in that box.
Okay. Thank you for answering that authentically. I wanted to kind of sort of lay that out early in the beginning. Let's go into a couple of issues similar to Boston. Violence. We call it down here mass and cass. I don't know what you guys call it in Springfield, if it's associated with the area or whatever. Let's first start with the opioid epidemic. As mayor, in your first 100 days, what would you commit to doing to being radical and atypical to address the opioid crisis? I ask that because Boston tends to be the central point, centralized, where folks do maybe come for services, and then unfortunately they get off a bus or whatever, and then there's a dealer there, and then they get caught up. But particularly in two questions there. How would you address it in Springfield, and what would you do to work with the mayor of Boston for those that migrate into Boston?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a difficult issue, and it's one that I know you all have been facing in Boston. It's one that we face in the city of Springfield, and what we need to do is acknowledge that we have a problem. For me here in the city of Springfield for a long time, what we haven't done is acknowledge that we have a problem, and folks are, when you start getting to the root causes of why folks are engaging in opioids, the reality is we need to make sure that we're providing folks with direction and employment and having education, and their mental health mental health issues are addressed. And oftentimes we what we do is we give them treatment, and then we put them back into the same environment. And so we need to do we need to be innovative, and we need to make sure that we're working.
What does innovation look like to you in the first 100 days?
So innovation in the first 100 days means that we need to make a significant investment in our Health and Human Services Department to ensure that there are housing for these individuals, and that housing may not necessarily be in the city. There's housing and there are treatment facilities, and they may not necessarily be in the city of Springfield, but it also would be something that we ought to consider funding, right?
Okay.
When we put them right back in the same areas here in the city of Springfield, we know that they're going to be just as susceptible as they were when they were doing the drugs in the first place. And so we need to make sure we're investing resources in our Health and Human Services Department. We need to make sure we're accessing all of the money from the state and federal level to ensure that folks have an opportunity to get the treatment that they need. And then we need to make sure that they, that we're also drug. I went to drug court here in the city of Springfield a couple weeks ago, and I went to a drug court graduation. And one of the most emotional times that I've had on the campaign trail was when I watched individuals who were dealing with the opioid crisis having an emotional attachment to individuals who had been struggling with opioids their entire lives, but now had turned their lives around and were ultimately counselors. And so making sure that folks have mentorship opportunities and are connected with those individuals who have been struggling and have been able to overcome opioid addiction is critical. But on top of that, we need to make sure that they feel a sense of value in who they are. And if they don't do that, and oftentimes that's either through employment, that's either through peer groups, and we just need to make sure that we're investing in them at all levels.
So first 100 days around the opioid crisis, you would make a significant investment at level or above level funding, specifically focused on addressing the opioid crisis.
Health and Human Services, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
is there a czar or anyone that is dedicated within the administration right now in a post that's leading that work, or does it just fall under the sort of the cabinet?
So right now it's the Commissioner Helen Colton Harris, who is Commissioner of the Health and Human Services Department here in the city of Springfield. She's done a phenomenal job, but at the same time, we need to model ourselves after what some other cities are doing, just so that we can have that level of out the box thinking. Now, don't get me wrong; she does a great job,
Yep.
And she's been doing a good job here in the city of Springfield. But we have to do more. Oftentimes what happens is we have these department heads who are handcuffed by financing. They're handcuffed by, the fact that we are not even level funding their budgets, but we're giving them less. And especially when, it's one of the few department heads that can relate to the opioid crisis and looks like you and me, it's even more apt that we try to, we end up making them try to operate with even less funding than they need to survive. And they do a great job, but the reality is they need more support.
So I asked that question. One, thank you for being gracious towards her, and also naming that they have to oversee everything health and human services. So my question is, in that investment that you would make in those first 100 days, would you commit exploring looking at a dedicated post that would be dedicated to the opioid crisis, that would address the issues programming, and also getting into my next question, liaise between Governor Healy and also some level of Mayor Wu, because the biggest influx does happen here in Boston. So would part of that investment be committing to putting someone in a post committed to addressing this?
We have to.
Okay.
We have to, whether it's someone within their department or whether
it's a new position.
Or whether it's a new position.
Okay.
We have to. I mean, I feel the same way about that I feel about our returning citizens, who we oftentimes put back in the same.
Hold on. Before we go there, because that falls a little bit with violence. So in that post, what would you do that's radical to work with the third largest city in the state? And so there's Boston. There's other gateway cities that are dealing with this issue. In Boston, a lot of times our complaint is people are migrating into Mass and Cass, and there hasn't been this sort of assertive, coordinated effort between leadership of cities of the number. When folks get arrested, last known address, they get a zip code. Do an Excel sheet, and the top 10 cities, summon them to the state house, figure it out, and so what is it that you would do? Is there an idea you have that how the state, and particularly working with Mayor Wu, you can do something that's radical?
So first of all, I would identify what it is that you all are doing out in Boston. I mean, the best way in which we can learn is identify what's working and what's not working. I know what we've done here in Springfield has not certainly worked to where we would like to see it. Many residents here in the city of Springfield. I don't know what's happening in Boston.
Oh no, ditto. Oh no, it's bad. Yeah.
But the other thing is that we need to identify who these individuals are, and I think for and also here in Springfield it takes work, and so the minute that it takes work to identify who these individuals are, having conversations with their families, and having conversations with them themselves to make sure that we're giving them every opportunity to be successful and identifying those resources that we have available here in the city of Springfield for them to take advantage of. We're never going to really be addressing the issue of opioid addiction here in the city of Springfield. And so if we constantly have the same individuals that we're not providing help to, we're never going to get ourselves out of this problem. Now, there's no doubt that, when you look at the eastern part of the state as it relates to Governor Healy, we don't get the funding that the eastern part of the state oftentimes gets. And so we need to make sure that we have that working relationship with our liaison to the governor's office to ensure that monies and adequate money is coming here to the city of Springfield, which is the third largest city. And so we got to be having the conversations. And that's one of the things that I feel like we don't do enough here in the city is have the conversations. We try to sweep it under the rug as though it's going to get better. But until we really start having those difficult conversations and we bring all of the providers to the table, solutions are not going to happen.
So it's interesting that you, I had Mayor Wu on, and the last time we talked about this, she named, like you, sort of the individuality, seeing them as a human, and taking a different approach, almost like a one-on-one, and naming that there's not enough case managers to do what she said and you said. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being transparent and coming from an authentic place around addressing this issue. The other one is let's talk about violence. You all are at 27 homicides. I'm not exactly sure what the number is here in Boston around homicides, but I also just want to name, there's a lot of similarities. When I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, you can be right here in Boston. We're dealing with same issues. And so violence, what is it in the first 100 days that you would do that is radical, that would address the issues and be specific? Intervention, prevention, and then in the worst case scenarios, when how do you address trauma in the fatality when there are fatalities? So intervention, prevention, what would you do radically in your first 100 days?
So first of all, we need to lead in hiring our returning citizens. That's number one.
Okay.
Especially those returning citizens who are coming from incarceration, who need to make sure that they have a job to feed their families. So we certainly would lead as a city in terms of employing our returning citizens so they don't find themselves back on the streets doing the exact same thing that ultimately got them there.
Let me ask you one clarifying question. When you say hire, you mean working with agencies to hire, or the city itself hiring?
I mean both. I mean both. You know, there's no reason why. I mean, we sit here and we want to fund the Rokas of the world to pick up, to have, you know, our returning citizens come back and pick up trash. I'm not saying that's a bad idea, but why can't we put them as part of the park? Why can't we employ them in the parks department? Right? Why can't we give them a living wage that allows them to go back and feed their families and allows them to get housing that will ultimately prevent them from being back on the streets, falling into the same gangs, drugs, and gun violence that may have got them incarcerated in the first place. So that is important. On top of that, we need a team of street workers, and those, I've been starting to bring this to light probably in the last few weeks, but I know it's critical, and it was. And it dawned on me as critical when, again, I went to that drug court and I saw the impact of the individual who had, who was in recovery, but had made it out for all intents and purposes, and was now serving as a mentor to individuals that were struggling with addiction. And so that led me to believe that we need those same individuals on the ground. We either need to be having conversations with the shooters or having conversations with individuals who know who the shooters are and really get to the crux of why it is that the shooting is occurring in the first place. And, if you don't know those individuals, you got to be willing to get to know those individuals. I have born and raised here. I've identified who some of those individuals are, who could serve on this particular team, and who could really have those conversations, because come. The streets are going to fix the streets. And, unless you're not, if you're not having those conversations with those individuals, then it can never happen. There are some other things that, that I also think are important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of those that believes that, that police cannot be part of the solution.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, we're 70 officers short. We know that we need additional officers. We need to make sure that those officers are responding to calls that that they're trained to deal with. But I'll say that's for another discussion. But we're 70 officers short, so we need to make sure that we're hiring officers at a higher clip than we're doing right now. In addition to that, we need to make sure that we have officers on every gang, gun, and drug task force at both the state and federal level, Currently, we have vacancies on a number of those task forces, and that's problematic. In addition, our specialized units, they go home at 12 o'clock midnight. So we need to make sure that we have our specialized units that are working past 12 midnight and are also working on the weekends, which is not happening. And then we need that community component. And that community component is making sure that we're investing in those organizations that are doing the work on the ground. And, oftentimes what happens here in the city of Springfield is the people that get the money are the people that are tied politically, not necessarily the organizations that are on the ground doing the work. And then we also need to assess whether these organizations are getting the results that we want them to get, right? We don't want to continue to throw good money after bad money. And so, we need to invest in those organizations that are culturally competent in dealing with mental health issues in our community. We need to invest in organizations that are investing in our young people, our community centers, to name a few. We need to invest in organizations that are dealing with conflict resolution, organizations that are dealing with recidivism, organizations that are dealing with workforce development and making sure that folks have the job skills once they return home, and even more importantly, when they graduate. We need to invest in our education system to make sure that when individuals graduate, that when they come out, they're actually employable. We know, contrary to the rest of the state, here in Springfield, our folks are not going on to 2-year and 4-year colleges at a high clip. Well, that means that they're going into the workforce. And if they're going into the workforce, we need to make sure that they have the skills to do so.
So, anybody that knows me and is watching it knows that I'm animated here because, again, there are so many similarities between what's going on in Springfield and Boston. I will challenge you to give me one concrete, because around the opioid crisis, you talked about considering a czar and making a significant investment. And while everything you said is significant and important, what is one concrete thing that you would do? Is there a street worker program in place now, or are you saying that you would create one?
We would create a street team,
A street team
to get into the communities and have conversations with individuals that are responsible or involved in the shootings in our community. Okay. And they will be charged with making sure that that they understand why what is happening, and then also coming up with solutions to deal with those issues. And Absolutely. So if we have one now, it's about as defunct as I've ever seen it. And it certainly is not as effective as we need it. What happens here in the city of Springfield is, you don't really pay attention to the homicides here in the city of Springfield until either it's election season or they start to creep up upon numbers that we've never seen before. And right now it's both. And so, our folks have convened a variety of different organizations, but all of that should have been done well in advance of right now. We should just be tweaking whatever plan we have right now, not scrapping it and throwing it out the window.
Okay. We're going to get ready to wrap up in a few minutes. I have some comments to share with you from the audience, from some alum from Western New England, and some suggestions as well. I asked you about the opioid crisis. I asked you about violence. Those are two areas in which I have spent a lot of time with our mayor here. Number one issue for you that you'll address, top of your head.
Crime.
Okay.
Crime. Absolutely. Between crime and making a significant investment in our young people. For me, okay. That what is occurring right now is the result of 16 years of a lack of investment in our young people and a lack of investment in our neighborhoods.
16 years. Why did you cite 16 years?
That's as long as the current mayor has been in office.
Okay. I wondered, but I just needed clarity to, clarifying question, brother, clarifying question. Being a Black man moving in politics there, it's similar to Boston. I know it can be stressful. You mentioned your wife. Do you have children?
Yes. That's the other difference in terms of, how it is that I approach what it is that I do, and, the values that I bring to the table. I have one young son who's 12, and, it's like he's going on 17 already. And so when we talk about, folks that are losing, their young people to gun violence, we just lost somebody who was 17 years old. That's 5 years away from my son. my son's, a pretty good basketball player. And so that means, that he's interacting with individuals that are older.
Yep.
And I know, at any moment it could be, one of my own kids. And so, when we operate, my wife and I, and when we come up with our policies, based off of the fact that we have individuals that are in the system and we have skin in the game. And so, we're not ducking the system that we're a part of. Our kids go to school in the public schools, one that is 12, one that is 7. And, it's the same way everybody else is dealing with busing issues. We know firsthand, right? And if we got to correct it for our kids, that means we got to correct it for everybody else. We got to correct the schools for our kids. We got to correct them for everybody else. And that was a purposeful decision on our part.
Yes, sir. With that, and thank you for citing that. What do you do for self-care?
It's a good question.
And how important is, as a Black man, that we pay attention to our mental health? I'm not going to let you get away without addressing both of those. So do the last one first. How important is that Black men? Yep.
It's critical. It's critical. We hold so much inside, and we deal. The deck is always stacked against them, and we always feel like we're supposed to have a certain persona, to deal with issues that we probably ought not to be dealing with, and that are the direct result of a system that has not had us, at the front of it forever. And so what do I do? For me, it's going to my son's game, and really be able to take in some family time, and it's hard to do it now, but just try to separate myself from everything that's happening, and really watch my sons play what it is that they love to play. There are times in which I go to the gym. I mean, now it's far and few in between. But any moment that I get really just to have a conversation that is not about politics, that is not about, how it is that we improve our plight here in the city of Springfield for the residents of Springfield. I try to take advantage of those times. Maybe it's football on Sunday. If I can catch the Dolphins playing, I know I'm gonna get crucified here, but if I can catch the Dolphins playing on a game, that allows me to take my mind off.
You said the Dolphins.
I'm
You're not a Patriots fan?
I'm just saying, if I you take me backstage. If I get to watch the Dolphins, for a few hours on a Sunday, that allows me to take my mind off of things. But right now for me, it's hard, and it's probably when I need self-care the most. And so if you ask my wife, she would say that, I need to go get a massage, pedicure, whatever it is. But I try to do what it is that I can do within the time that I have. And, I know it's important. So hopefully, hopefully she's listening, and she's going to take me on a nice trip after this is all said and done, and we can get away. So who knows?
I just wanted to share some of the comments with you. Thank you, Justin. You articulate your perception and vision so very clear. Your tone is very relatable. And also there's an alum, Kathy Rebel, from has Mr. Hurst considered seeking if he could partner in some way with Morehouse College graduate president of Western New England University, Robert Johnson. He is progressive and is giving to the Springfield community by sponsoring a mobile legal aid van that helps Springfield community residents. So there's a connection that can be made there. And just that
they're killing it. Ariel is killing it. Who was part of that van to get records expunged here in the city of Springfield. We as a city, Western New England shouldn't have to partner with the MGMs of the world. They should be partnering with the city of Springfield, with the mobile van and going into communities where we know their records need to be expunged. I mean, a good friend of mine couldn't even apply for a job at MGM, and they turned him down. He was cleaning floors. He had a drug case, 14 years ago when we were kids. So just getting that information out there is critical, and certainly having conversations with the president of the colleges are important in general, as 2 out of the 3 of the major colleges and universities here in the city of Springfield are presidents of color. And so they, my hope is that they're going to continue to give back to the city of Springfield.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Just that quick as Miss Teresa was bigging you up. She's a little disturbed.
I started to have my Dolphins mug, with me here, but I thought I might lose votes. We certainly don't want to do that. But
you don't want to do that. Well, listen, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to secure the vote. Usually in debates, town halls and whatnot, they give the candidates an opportunity to make their closing statement. Sir, this is the opportunity to make your closing statement to let folks know why they should vote for you.
First of all, I appreciate you having me. Java with Jimmy. I didn't know who you were before, but clearly you have a large following, and you actually care about the residents, not just out there in Boston, but throughout the Commonwealth. So I appreciate you having me here. In addition, I'm so sorry to those other counselors who weren't able to get on the show, and certainly don't hold it against me. Why should you vote for me here in the city of Springfield? If you want a city in which our education system is going to perform at its optimum level, then you should vote for me. If you want a Springfield where municipal contracts go to businesses here in the city of Springfield, so we can grow our small businesses, the medium-sized businesses, and large businesses, then you should vote for me. If you want a city where we employ individuals who are from the city of Springfield and don't let millions of dollars go outside of the city of Springfield, then you should vote for me. If you want an administration that has a comprehensive plan to address gun violence here in the city of Springfield, then you should vote for me. If you want an administration that's going to invest in our young people and build a first-class facility here in the city of Springfield, then you should vote for me. If you want a city that we can take pride in, where our parks are clean, where our terraces are green, where our streets are not strewn with litter, then you should vote for me. And lastly, if you want a city that is going to operate on behalf of all of the residents in the city of Springfield, as opposed to just a select few, then you should vote for me. And more importantly, you should encourage your aunts, your uncles, your grandmothers, your parents, your relatives, your friends, and everybody else that you can possibly get out to come out on November 7th or vote early. We have an opportunity for change here in the city of Springfield, and have an individual who represents all of us to be at the helm, and I need your help to do it.
We could have put an organ there at one point, because you said you should vote for me about 16 times, and I was like, well, that's starting to get good. Switch that up at your last speech, whatever, and incorporate. You should vote for Hearst. If you were, you should vote. I'm telling you, man.
I got you.
Just make sure when that airs, you give royalties and the credit. King,
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, and I want to. I dare not allow you to leave this space without some level of affirmation as a Black man, someone that understands politics and understands the plight and the journey in which you were on. So we celebrate you. We thank you for the past 10 years of your service, being on city council. We thank you for being an advocate and being real, to be just your authentic self, and take your life experience and bring that into spaces that those spaces often lack the experience that presumably you and I have had, given our demographic. Take care of yourself. Pump up that self-care was very surface. Pedicure, manicure, go to the game, go to my son's game. No, brother, you need to figure it out with the wife, and even more so on the campaign trail. Because when friends ask me, hey, Jimmy, I'm thinking about running, what are your thoughts? I don't go to policy. I don't go to their past. I don't go to the skeletons. I'm like, where's your mental health? Because it does wear a lot, especially, and I'm not aware of anything, but just you're a Black man that's influential. And if that 16-year administration is lighter than me, then they may take some different tactics, and in order, because they're afraid that their power is slipping. And so I'm not going to go too deep into that. But sir, we definitely celebrate you. We send strength your way. We hope that you are favorable in all your endeavors, and stay true. And if successful, I'm going to need to see you within those 100 days. You
No
left
doubt.
here with the commitment to make a major investment and create a czar either within or position around the opioid crisis. You also committed to creating a street team that will address the issues of violence. And so we're going to be watching come January 24 and 100 days out, or whatever the date the inauguration is, you know, there's some implications in me making that statement there. So you see where I am. But thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. I hope I don't get, and thank you for naming the counselors that are here. That might help get me a little bit of cover. You're good, bro. You're good. But thank you for spending time with us, being authentic and sharing your story, and also your Ramilda. Ramilda, tell him to call me. We need support with our HBCU tour. And so I don't know. I'm not sure if there's an HBCU there in Springfield, but I'll get. I just text Ramilda and told her that she would like you. Ramilda's one of our very influential, active young people that she ain't young. Well, anyway, I'll connect you with Ramilda. She'll get me later. But thank you so much, Justin, for being with us. And if you get a chance, tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley is going to be on here.
I love it. I love it. Listen, keep up the work that you're doing. It's so important for our residents, not just in Springfield, but throughout the Commonwealth. So I'm appreciative that you didn't leave Western Mass out. And the reality is, if the city,
Western Mass is the only one included right now.
No doubt, no doubt. If the Commonwealth is going to thrive, Western Mass must thrive. And Springfield, more importantly, as the largest city out in the western part of the state, needs to be doing our thing as well. So I appreciate you and thank you again. And if there's something else I can do, you let me know.
Absolutely. I'll get you connected with Ramilda.
All right. Appreciate
Thank you, brother. Appreciate
it. No doubt. Thank you. Have a great day.
It was quite refreshing being able to talk with Justin this morning. I love his spirit. Ramilda said they're like another state to Ramilda. Anyway, I'm getting ready to get off of here. Listen, tomorrow we have a special edition, special brew of Java with Jimmy. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley will be with us. We know that there's a lot going on with the potential government shutdown. There's a lot of other things she's working on around canceling student debt. Student loan payments, I believe, start back up on Sunday. And so Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley will be with us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So please plan on being here. We have some other a guest plan for next week. Don't forget Sunday, look out. And if you have not, go to, let me put this in here, y'all. This should be easy, but www.javawithjimmy.com to make sure you sign up for our mailing list. Always be up to date and maybe sometimes even early with what is going on in the Java Cafe. Find out early what's percolating. The new website and some other things dropping on Sunday. Next Wednesday, we have Mayor Michelle Wu and also Nicole Olby of BECMA. Mayor Michelle Wu is going to check in with us as she usually does every month. And then Nicole is going to check in with us around the Mass Black Expo that is taking place next weekend. I'm a part of it. The brothers from Earn Your Leisure are a part of it. There are great panels and panelists and speakers. So plan to be a part of that next Wednesday at 9 a.m. The mayor is from 9 to 9:30 and Nicole is from 9:30 to 10. Don't forget also tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. we have our Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley that will be with us. And I think I am caught up with everyone. Ramilda, I know what you mean. Not only Springfield, but some people consider East Boston. East Boston often feels left out from Boston. So everybody that's in, hey, Pops, good to see you in the room. Good to see you, Pops, in the room. And Teresa said, I live in a Bermuda Triangle. Thank all of you for tuning in this morning. We will be back tomorrow. Don't forget, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We'll see you then. Have a great day, everybody. Remember, technically, today is Thankful Thursday. I'm thankful for all of you. Remember to be intentional about your gratitude. And we'll see you tomorrow morning on Friday, September 29th at 9 a.m. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.